Hello everyone, welcome to VetNet. Today you're joining myself, the Executive Director of Hiring Our Heroes. My name is Kevin Schmiegel. I'm a retired Lieutenant Colonel out of the United States Marine Corps, and I'm running this program called Hiring Our Heroes. The effort you're joining today is part of a new series of one-on-one interviews that we're doing with Chief Executive Officers of companies across America. And what's significant about the CEOs that we're going to interview is a lot of them are veterans themselves. Today we're joined by Scott Spiker, who is the CEO of First Command Financial, which he launched on that position in September of 2007. He was recruited from outside the company, but is a seasoned executive with more than 25 years of experience in the investment and financial services industries. He's held top leadership positions in a number of major corporations. Before joining First Command, Scott served as the President and Chief Executive Officer of Destiny Health, a Chicago-based health insurance company. Scott is a Navy veteran. He was a graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy and holds an MBA in Marketing and Finance from the University of Chicago Graduate School of Business. So as a Marine, I'm happy to be joined by a sailor. Scott is also married and has 2 daughters. So the construct of today's Hangout is pretty simple. This is my chance to interview a fellow veteran about what he sees as a CEO of a major company, to talk a little bit about what First Command is doing to help military families as well as employ military families. We're very excited that First Command recently joined our Veterans Employment Advisory Council, which is made up of 35 of America's biggest and best companies, and represent 25 million jobs across the country and across the world. So Scott, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, Kevin.
I want to start out with a question I think is fairly general, but I think it relates to our economy and some of the unique challenges that military families face. Could you kind of lay out some of the unique personal financial challenges that military personnel and their families are facing while they're on service, or even when they're making their transition?
Great. Kevin, the best way I can describe it is military families are hurting. There are 3 underpinnings to my comment. The first one is we have to look at the last 10 years where we've had the most deployed military force in our country's history. These are folks that have been so frequently deployed with such arduous demands on their family that we've had to augment them with reservists and with federal employees. To say the least, they have been presented with challenges of being gone all the time. The second underpinning issue is that they're looking at looming budget cuts, with or without the sequestration that was discussed last night in our State of the Union address. Folks are on active duty and are worried about what's going to happen to them. And just as importantly, those folks that are either transitioning or already retired are worried about the changes in benefits or compensation and career opportunities that may occur as we engage in the drawdown and sequestration. The third issue is vets that are getting out today that are embarking on their transition are facing an extremely arduous employment world. It's just a weak job market for vets in every direction, and because we are financial advisors, every day in our work as we coach those who serve in their pursuit of financial security, we see how all these challenges manifest to create insecurity and crisis in the lives of the service members as well as their families. Many struggle with daily personal finance challenges. You know, it's been hard keeping track of the monthly budgeting. It's a challenge for families to stretch to meet the demands of just their pace of deployment. On top of that, they're facing financial issues and uncertainties which create physical problems, psychological problems that compound with maybe the post-traumatic stress that they bring back from the theaters of combat. And this puts great stress on the spouses and on their family relationships. And then that too is compounded by the uncertainties regarding their long-term career goals and what are they going to do next, and where's this going to take them as they face this terrible economy.
I appreciate all the things you said, Scott. I wanted to kind of tie that together. I think for our post 9/11 veterans in particular, we see a disparate unemployment rate over 10%. The trends were positive for a while, but we see them tick back up in January to about 12%. For those 24 and under, you get 29% unemployment. I think what's encouraging to me is we're seeing employers across the country hiring veterans, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's the smart thing to do. I mean, I think the vets that are listening today would be particularly interested in how they can, look for opportunities. What type of opportunities, for instance, are for military vets to help families pursue financial security and success through a new career as a financial advisor with companies like First Command. It'd be great to hear from you about that.
Yeah, many of the companies you talk to vets about will be in defense industries or other places. I in particular want to talk about a career as a financial advisor. The reason that I'm here and the reason that the 70% of our workforce that have come from the military, especially our advisors, are here is because a career in financial planning is an opportunity to do something that makes a real difference and consequently becomes something that is truly loved. People that join this career and make it a success never want to leave this business, and we're finding that because we have so many mature advisors that continue to extend their retirement, not because they have to, but because they enjoy making such a difference in people's lives. A recent study, I think this was 6 months ago or so, by careercast.com, looked at 200 different industries and said that financial planning ranked as the 5th best career out of all of those. The reasons that we feel this is true is that you can enjoy high pay, you can make a great living in this business as you help other people. It's pretty low stress. You have great job security because as you work for a company like ours, you're really building your own business. Now, as we contemplate the shrinking safety net that our president talked about last night in the State of the Union, the thing that we realize is the implicit message to all citizens, but especially to the military, as they look at their long-term opportunities and their long-term supports, such as Social Security, military retirement, Medicare, Medicaid, is that the funding's not going to be there over the long term. And effectively, the government's telling us what I call yo-yo. You're on your own. Reason I say that is I believe that this career will be only more important in the future as the rest of our society has to contend with this, contend with the eroding support of the safety net, and it's a great chance to make a real difference in people's lives.
I think that's great. As you talk about making a difference, I think a lot of younger veterans in particular, some of the challenges they're having in their transition is they're not finding meaning in the jobs they're looking for. And the points you bring up are very valid. I think if you look at retention rates for veterans in particular, they'll hold 3 jobs before they land the job that becomes their career, their second career. And I think a lot of that has to do with finding something that is satisfying and meaningful. And companies like First Command in particular do a good job of articulating why their mission set adds value for them as individuals, as valued employees, and the lives that they can serve. So very, very direct question again for the audience. I think they'd like to know why First Command seeks military veterans as advisors in particular.
I just stated our mission. I'm going to restate it again. It's 10 simple words: coaching those who serve in their pursuit of financial security. We just established, Kevin, that those who serve need a lot of help and will continue to need a lot of help going forward into the future. We love to hire vets because as we offer them a chance to come aboard as a financial advisor, they're joining the community they just left in the language that they've learned, with a mission that is very similar to what they found in the military, and it feels like home. It's easy for them to join us, and it's easy for them to be successful. You just mentioned a few statistics that are dawning. You talked about the rate of returning veterans finding work. We also see that they're suffering financially. 37% of people that are leaving service today have credit balances that are greater than $10,000 on a credit card. Less than half have participated in the thrift savings plan. 26% only are satisfied with their personal financial situation. So the military needs us desperately right now. We are in a growth mode. The need has never been greater. And we see more and more demand for our face-to-face service delivered in the communities where service members live and work. We have 172 offices, and I hazard a guess that 95% of them are in communities where there's a substantive military presence or a base or a post or something like that. So we're looking to recruit vets and military spouses. I need to include them in the equation as our next generation of advisors. Our goal alone for this next year is to recruit 360 vets, and we expect, through partnership with you all, to recruit more than 2,100 in the next 5 years.
That's great, Scott. I want to bring that point up because one of the things that we're doing as part of hiring our heroes is we have a campaign that's focused not only on the big companies, but to really get this word out to small businesses as well across America. It's called the Hiring 500,000 Heroes campaign. And back in March of 2012, we made a pledge to help 500,000 veterans and spouses find jobs by the end of 2014. Commitments from companies like yours to set goals, which in a lot of cases are stretch goals, to hire veterans and military spouses is significant. And already since March, we've gotten 200,000 job commitments and over 100,000 hires. So we're reaching the milestones we want to reach. And we think that, through examples of companies like First Command, we'll be able to get a lot more small businesses involved with the campaign. Kind of taking it back to kind of your own world and relating what is required for a financial advisor. A lot of service members who watch the Hangouts are particularly interested in the types of skills they need or the types of knowledge or experience that's required to land a job in the specific field that they're interested in. So I think the question becomes, the veterans who are interested in First Command or jobs in your sector, do they need financial knowledge or experience to become a financial advisor?
I can't speak for other companies. Many have abandoned, in our industry, have abandoned the training role of creating new advisors. We have always been a training company. In fact, almost all of our advisors joined us without any knowledge or particular experience other than the experience they had in the communities coming from their military service. What we find is we can train you up within a relatively short period of time to all the knowledge and competence that you need to have. What is the most pervasive determinant of success is how passionate you are about serving other people. And so this is truly a service business. I'd love to give you some examples of very recent folks in the last couple of years that we've hired that I think illustrate or punctuate this point. John DeBusk, who's in our office down in Florida, Pensacola, is a retired first sergeant. He's an Army Ranger. He came out of service looking to have the next opportunity to lead other people. He'd enjoyed his military experience. He was right there in the Fort Walton Beach area. It's just a little bit east of Pensacola. He's come out and made a business right in that community that he left. We trained him up. We made him experience. He's created the trust with the clients. He's performing at the top level of the advisors in our company. He's doing that within a 2-year period. Cheryl Zudell, who's in our Bremerton, Washington office, she joined us as the spouse of a Coast Guard officer. She wanted a career that would allow her to move with her husband as he PCS'd, and we gave her that opportunity. Cheryl's doing a great job. Now that he's retiring, she has decided that that's where they've raised their kids and that's where they want to stay, and she's got a terrific career to build on. Last guy I'd like to mention is a fellow named Tim Malinsky. Tim is in the Washington, D.C. area. He retired as a colonel in the Air Force. He enjoyed taking care of people. It was all about how do I give back to the community that offered me so much. And he gets to still do that at First Command. He's in his first year, and he's really tracking along nicely. So if folks have the apprehension, I don't have the specific knowledge or the technical training, they need not worry about that. They need to come here with a passion to serve other people, a willingness to reach out and build trusting relationships, and the chance to perhaps face rejection once in a while when we try and reach out and help people. Not all people are created the same in terms of being willing to trust other people, but as regards the brain space, we'll give you that.
That's great, Scott. I think you kind of touched on what some of the general things are. Can you kind of relate what a specific veteran who comes to First Command, what they'll experience as a First Command advisor, and just get in a little bit more detail about the career itself?
Yeah. Folks that join us to create meaningful relationships with clients. And a typical advisor will, over the first 2 or 3 years, create a few hundred client families that they're helping. A lot of the initial work is developing those relationships. A lot of times that happens in the community from where they've just come. And it starts out with helping them identify and then pursue what their goals and dreams are. The kind of financial planning we do is most often with couples. It's not just an exercise in math. It's sitting down and saying, where is it you want to go and how do I help you get there? What we find is that folks that start on a long-term path can have almost anything they want in life if they just put their mind to it. And it's the discipline that our advisors provide through their coaching that instills that confidence that they're going to get there. And through the 54 years of our experience, we see our client families actually hit abundance. And talk about satisfying. When you've put people on a path and can look back in 20 years and say they have everything they want in life. And I know that firsthand. A bunch of my classmates from the Naval Academy have in fact experienced that through First Command. So you move from serving your country to serving those who serve. You can expect that you're going to have quite a bit of independence. You get to pick a location where you have the best connections. As I just said a minute ago, we have offices in close proximity to almost any military base in the United States or Europe, and even have one in Guam. You get to be your own boss. You get to build your own business. You define your own goals. Some people come here because they want to create a great financial living and can be very ambitious about how they pursue this craft. Other people come here because they want to control their own hours. They want to be able, after having been deployed so much, to see their kids play soccer every day or whatever extracurricular activities. And this allows you to be your own boss and do that. We've got a business model that is designed to help you build trust with new military clients. We offer middle-income military clients, E6 and above, a complimentary initial financial plan. One of the reasons we do this is so folks feel like they can come in, sit down, build a plan with you and get started on their path. What we find is most folks would love to have face-to-face financial coaching, but they don't believe that that's within their reach. Through the benefit of a complimentary initial financial plan, that takes that perception right away, and they come to understand that we're ready to help them at whatever stage their financial situation is. It inspires me to know that many of our advisors start out financial plans by gathering dreams and goals, and then they sit down with clients and spend the next 6 months or a year working them out of a bad debt situation before they can get into risk management or wealth management. But this is a neat model, and it's time tested. As I said, we've been doing it for 54 years, and it really works well.
That's great, Scott. I appreciate that's very comprehensive, and it'll give the vets who are watching a great idea of the opportunities. And I think with 360 of them opening up, I think that's something that they'll all be interested. Hopefully we'll get a good pipeline to you of qualified folks who are interested in helping others. I think that's an important point that you made. I mean, we've done a couple of we've done one financial services panel. We're doing another one soon. A lot of veterans seem to be interested in the financial services sector. Could you talk a little bit about First Command in particular and how your culture may compare to other financial firms, how they're alike and how they may be different?
Yeah, I think folks, vets as they would join us would find that we are a culture that's remarkably less corporate than most. We have three underpinnings of our culture that I hold as imperative, and they're not for sale. Integrity is first and foremost. You got to do the right thing even when nobody else is watching. And in a world where I believe folks are concerned that there's an erosion of trust in the financial services sector, we enjoy great relationships with our clients because they know we're only going to do what's in their best interest. The second piece of our culture is a sense of family. It's a genuine caring about other people and how can I help people be successful. I find so many of our advisors benefited from the mentorship of other advisors when they join us that they are more than willing to pay it forward as they become mid or later in their career. And that is so satisfying. There's no cutthroat, I'm going to get this client, you're not. It really comes down to how do we help these people get to where they want to go. And the third element is this deep commitment to servant leadership. How do we serve other people? And it goes beyond simply what we do in our financial planning practices or occupation. There are three examples I'd like to mention that talk about the sense of philanthropy we have as a company. For 30 years now, we have been funding our own foundation, the First Command Educational Foundation. It has two purposes and only two purposes. One is creating financial literacy for those folks in service that need it most importantly. A lot of times we're serving junior enlisted folks, we're not selling them anything. It's sitting down and helping them understand, how do I balance a checkbook, what's TSP, pretty elementary stuff, but helping them get started on a road to financial understanding. And then the other part of the foundation is giving scholarships to these folks. We have given millions of dollars of scholarships over time, and it's great that they're a sister company. They're really arm's length, but they allow us to reach audiences that desperately need our help. And those folks eventually turn into folks that want to be our clients, and that's a good thing, but there's no hard handshake on that. It's just let's create the goodwill by helping them understand what they need to know. Second philanthropic piece that I'd like to talk about, we're just getting off the ground now. It's called Project Sanctuary. It is a nonprofit that provides therapeutic retreats and follow-up support for families that are in distress, post 9/11 families, folks that return and they say, we really have problems. We have become their exclusive provider of financial coaching and mentorship within the program, again, principally on a philanthropic basis. We've provided them economic assistance through $100,000 we've donated to their capital campaign, and we provide financial education sessions at these therapeutic retreats. One really cool thing about Project Sanctuary is that it works with the whole family. It puts them in a retreat environment where they can repair the relationships that are so important. And what has been amazing to me is out of all the families they've treated in this manner, there has not been a single suicide. And given the tragedy that we know is going on with folks coming back from combat situations, we hold that to be remarkable. And the last one is your own organization, Hiring Our Heroes. We know what the military is suffering through. You just cited a couple of examples in terms of unemployment. You didn't mention that 20% of women who have served are unemployed, 26% of military spouses who are unemployed that are looking for jobs, and that's why we're partnering with you. We're providing economic assistance. We are going to be a principal player at providing financial education at hiring fairs, and we're recruiting financial advisors. This is a great job, and so that plays very nicely in how we can support your mission, and that's the kind of company we are. I defy you to find another company probably on this planet that gives 6% of its profits philanthropically, and that's what we do, and that's what we're committed to continue to do.
Well, we certainly appreciate your support, Scott. I think as the executive director of this program of Hiring Our Heroes, we're a nonprofit, and I'm proud that we are completely funded by the private sector and philanthropic donations by companies like First Command and others. It's caused our program to grow very quickly. We've done 500 hiring fairs, or 500. We're on the course to do 500 hiring fairs over the course of a 2-year period. Our first 2 years, we've grown in 22 months from myself in the first 5 months of the program to 28 people. Many of them are vets and mil spouses doing this across the country. And through the philanthropic contributions, we started a number of online programs that we feel will help transitioning service members and military spouses from a private sector perspective. We're doing transition workshops at all of our hiring fairs next year, starting on April 1st, and sessions like yours on financial education will be helpful to a lot of people who are coming to the hiring fairs who may need help in other areas. So we appreciate your support, not just financially, but also on the actual rolling up your sleeves side of it when you be involved with some of the workshops that we're doing. So thanks for that.
Well, you are offering a noble cause, Kevin, and we appreciate what you're doing. I can only say I'm glad not to be your suitcase.
Yeah, you can tell that to my wife too, Scott. We got a couple more questions, and but before I do that, we had a comment from one of the audience just saying thanks for the shout out for Project Sanctuary, and they're honored to be a part of the First Command and be a partner of your organization. So it speaks volumes about other organizations like ours who are working with you. Can you talk a little bit about management and leadership opportunities? I think if we look at veterans and military spouses, they're uniquely qualified to serve in managerial and leadership roles. Can you talk about the opportunities there for vets who make careers at First Command in terms of leadership and management?
Yeah, you bet. We are blessed in our long history as a company, having hired so many people directly from the military, in that we're hiring leaders to be leaders. Some folks join us and leave the service and want to be their own boss and want to control their own environment and want to do so indefinitely, and many of those folks do, and that's a really good thing. Once you're established as advisor, there is no up or out. We don't push you out as long as you want to keep thriving in this career. But many folks who've been on a military track say that they really enjoy the opportunity to lead other people to do what they're doing and create a bigger impact. And there are ample opportunities to do that within our company. We have 67 districts across our company, one in Europe, one in Guam, and the rest in the United States. Our DAs invariably are district advisors. Those that run the district start out as advisors and then move up when they demonstrate the ability and the interest in doing so. So there's an immediate opportunity in those kinds of roles, and we're always looking for folks to fill those. And then we have 10 regional jobs, and then we have a pretty significant corporate presence here in Fort Worth, Texas, with many corporate roles. I'm pleased to point out that 9 out of our top 18 folks in the company have military backgrounds, and so that whole role of leadership plays very nicely into the kind of culture I was talking about a minute ago.
That's great, Scott. I think we've got time for one more question. Now, I want to, again, very specific guidance for vets who are following where they should go to learn more about pursuing a career at First Command as a financial advisor.
Great. 3 things I'd suggest. If you want to know more about us, check out our website, firstcommand.com. That's all spelled out, First Command. Or visit at the Hiring Our Heroes event or any other job fair. We participate extensively. But perhaps the best way you can learn about us is to talk to us. As I mentioned, we have offices in close proximity to almost every military base. Look them up in the yellow pages. Call that office and ask to speak to the district advisor. They'd be more than glad to talk to you and tell you what we're all about.
But that's a great wrap up, Scott. I wanted to also say, talking about being near installations, we're going to welcome First Command to the Hiring Our Heroes Veterans Employment Advisory Council. Have a big splash event down where I retired back in 2009 in Quantico, Virginia, at the base there on February 25th. So any veterans who are in the Virginia, greater DC area who are interested in job opportunities or learning more about what First Command's doing, head down to Quantico on February 25th. To wrap up, I want to first thank you, Scott, for your service, not only in uniform, albeit with the Navy, but also to thank you for continuing your service and taking care of military families one of your core tenets. We appreciate everything First Command is doing, and we really appreciate your leadership and joining us in our efforts to continue to raise awareness about the challenges that veterans and military families have in the employment space. Lastly, I'd like to thank all the veterans who tuned in. If you have questions, concerns, comments, criticisms, please send them via the Google Plus chat that we have going on, and feel free to comment on YouTube as well if you're viewing the video later, or refer it to friends. Once again, thanks, Scott. We look forward to seeing you on the 25th, and thanks for everything you do.
It's an honor to be associated with you, Kevin.
Thanks, Scott.